Did you know that Uranus, the seventh planet from the Sun, can actually float in water if you just happen to have a large enough pool? Now that's an out-of-this-world pool party. You might be wondering, how can a planet float? Well, it all comes down to its composition. Uranus, named after the Greek god of the sky, is a gassy planet, often referred to as an ice giant. It's primarily made up of hydrogen and helium, but also contains water, ammonia, and methane ices. These elements make Uranus less dense than water. So, if there were a swimming pool large enough to accommodate it, Uranus would bob around like a giant beach ball. Speaking of names, Uranus certainly got the short end of the stick. It's the only planet named after a Greek deity rather than a Roman one, and let's just say it's the butt of many a schoolyard joke. But it's not the name's fault. In fact, Uranus was originally going to be called George's star, after King George III. Can you imagine? Tonight, we're looking at George's star through the telescope. Somehow, Uranus seems a little less silly now, doesn't it? But let's not get sidetracked by its unfortunate name. Uranus is a fascinating planet, with its bluish color, drastic tilt, and a set of faint rings. The blue hue comes from the methane in its atmosphere, which absorbs red light and reflects blue. And its tilt? Well, it's almost as if Uranus is rolling around the sun on its side. So there you have it, a planet that's mostly gas, less dense than water, and could theoretically float in an ocean or a ludicrously large pool. It's a bit of an oddball, but that's what makes Uranus so interesting. It's not just another planet, it's a testament to the wonderful weirdness of our universe. So next time you're planning a pool party, don't forget to invite Uranus. It's sure to make a splash. Water everywhere, but not a drop to drink. Well, unless you're an astronaut. Did you know that astronauts drink recycled sweat and urine? Now that's recycling taken to the next level. Let's take a journey to the International Space Station, where water is as precious as a diamond. You see, up in space, there's no running water, no fresh springs, or rain clouds. So what do our brave space explorers do when they get thirsty? They drink their sweat and urine. Yes, you heard me right. No need to clean your ears. When you're orbiting the Earth at a blistering 17,500 miles per hour, you can't exactly make a pit stop at the local convenience store for a bottle of water. The astronauts have a sophisticated system that filters, purifies, and sterilizes their bodily fluids, transforming them into the nectar of life, water. Imagine waking up, starting your day with a vigorous workout. Because even in space, you can't skip leg day, working up a good sweat and then drinking it. Now, that's a powerful motivation to stay hydrated. And let's not forget about coffee. Ah, the sweet aroma of freshly brewed coffee with a hint of yesterday's sweat? It's safe to say that astronauts are probably the only folks who can claim their Morning Joe has a truly out-of-this-world flavor. Of course, it's not just sweat and urine that get the recycling treatment. The system also recycles humidity from the air and even the astronaut's breath. Every single drop of moisture is precious and nothing goes to waste. It's a bit like living in a closed terrarium where every component plays a vital part in the cycle of life. Or in this case, the cycle of hydration. But hey, before you wrinkle your nose, remember this: the water that comes out of this system is purer than most of the water we drink on Earth. So, next time you're enjoying a cup of coffee, just remember, it could always taste worse. Ever wondered what space sounds like? Well, brace yourselves, because it's absolutely silent. Talk about an awkward silence, right? Now you might be wondering, how can that be? With all the celestial bodies whizzing around, surely there must be some noise. Well, my friends, the simple truth is this: space is a vacuum. And in a vacuum, there's no air or medium for sound to travel through. You see, sound travels as a wave, vibrating particles in order to move from one place to another. But in the emptiness of space, there are no particles to vibrate. So, no vibration, no sound. It's as simple as that. But wait, doesn't that mean astronauts can't communicate in space? Not exactly. Inside their spacecraft or spacesuits, there is a medium, air, so they can talk and hear each other just fine. But step outside that spacecraft, and it's a different story. If an astronaut were to yell in space, no one would hear them scream. A bit like those old horror movies, isn't it? Speaking of movies, ever noticed how they always get this wrong? Explosions in space that go boom, spaceships that whoosh past. Yeah, all of that is pure fiction. In reality, space battles would be eerily quiet affairs. Now let's imagine for a moment you're someone who despises noise. Can't stand the sound of traffic, the chatter of people, the incessant barking of a dog. Well, space might just be the place for you. It's the ultimate quiet zone, the grandest of all silences. You could finally finish that book you've been trying to read, or maybe even catch up on some much-needed sleep. But of course, there's a catch. You'd need a spacesuit to survive. And trust me, those things are anything but quiet. The sound of your own breathing and the hum of life support systems would be your constant companions. So, if you ever need some peace and quiet, you know where to go. Just don't forget your oxygen mask. Honey, I forgot to put the honey in the fridge. No worries, it's the only food that never spoils. Eat it today, tomorrow, or 1,000 years from now. It's all good. Ah, honey, sweet, sticky, and seemingly immortal. It's the only food that doesn't have an expiry date. Seriously, it could outlive us all. But what makes honey the Clark Kent of the food world? Well, it's a combination of a few factors. Firstly, honey is a sugar. No, not the kind you spoon into your coffee, but it's a natural sugar. And sugar is hygroscopic, which is just a fancy way of saying it doesn't hold on to moisture. Without moisture, bacteria and microorganisms can't survive. It's like trying to host a pool party without water. Just doesn't work, does it? Secondly, bees add an enzyme called glucose oxidase to honey. When honey comes into contact with moisture, this enzyme breaks down the glucose in honey into gluconic acid and hydrogen peroxide. Yes, the same stuff you use to clean wounds. So in essence, honey is a self-preserving, antibacterial powerhouse. Now let's take a moment to think about other foods. Imagine if milk had the same properties. You could have a glass of milk that's as old as your great-grandpa and it'd still be good to drink. Or picture a world where bread never got moldy. You could make a sandwich with a loaf that was baked during the French Revolution. Ah, the possibilities. But alas, not all foods are as invincible as honey. And let's be honest, would you really want to eat 1,000-year-old cheese? I didn't think so. However, there's a silver lining. If you're ever stuck in a situation where you can only bring one food item, you know what to grab. Whether you're going on a long space voyage or preparing for a zombie apocalypse, honey's got your back. So, if ever there was a zombie apocalypse, make sure to stock up on honey. It's the only food you'll ever need. And finally, here's a fun fact for all you sleepyheads out there. Did you know the record for the longest period someone has gone without sleep is 11 days? That's a lot of late-night TV. Now let's dive into the story of a man named Randy Gardner. Back in the swinging 60s, specifically in the year 1964, Randy decided to embark on a journey of sleeplessness that lasted a whopping 264.4 hours. Yes, you heard that right. Gardner stayed awake for more than 11 full days. Now, I know what you're thinking. What could one possibly do with all that awake time? Well, let's put it into perspective. In 11 days, you could binge watch the entire Game of Thrones series, including the controversial final season, almost twice. Or you could fly around the world in a commercial jet about 3 times. You could even read the entire War and Peace novel by Leo Tolstoy, and still have time left to ponder about the meaning of life. But let's not forget, Randy wasn't enjoying a leisurely 11 days of fun and games. This was a grueling experiment, closely monitored by scientists, and Randy reported experiencing some pretty intense side effects. He had problems with concentration, paranoia, and even hallucinations. So not exactly the best way to spend your time, despite the allure of being able to fit in an extra season of your favorite TV show. Interestingly, despite the obvious toll it took on him, Randy didn't suffer any long-term physical effects from his sleep marathon, or rather his awake-a-thon. However, the mental effects of such prolonged sleep deprivation are still not fully understood. So, next time you're pulling an all-nighter, just remember, you're not even close to the record. But maybe don't try to break it, okay? Sleep is good for you. Well, after that story of extreme sleeplessness, let's flip the script and talk about the power of napping. Did you know that a quick power nap can boost your memory, cognitive skills, creativity, and energy level? Yes, you heard it right. Napping is not just for toddlers or your grandpa. Even notable figures like Thomas Edison, Albert Einstein, and Winston Churchill were known to be avid nappers. Now, you might be wondering, how long should my power nap be? Well, experts suggest that a quick 20-minute nap can provide a burst of alertness and enhanced motor performance. That's like recharging your brain's battery at lightning speed. A 60-minute nap, on the other hand, improves your cognitive abilities and memory. But beware, longer naps might leave you feeling groggy due to something called sleep inertia. So next time you're feeling a bit tired in the afternoon, instead of reaching for that extra cup of coffee, consider taking a quick power nap. Just remember to set your alarm, because you don't want your power nap turning into a full-blown sleep session. Now, that's a power move. Scene 7, End Sting. If you enjoyed these mind-boggling facts, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more amazing content. Until next time, keep exploring the world around you, because truth is indeed stranger than fiction.